My name is Ed Nardi, Chair of the Natural Resources Commission, and I am calling this public meeting to order at 7 p.m. Tonight's NRC meeting will be a hybrid in-person and Zoom meeting. We have a microphone set up on the commission table, and plans will be projected to the TV monitor. If you are presenting via Zoom, please turn on your audio and microphone when it is time for you to speak. Following the presentation by the petitioner and questions from the commission, members of the public will have the opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment. Please identify yourself with name and address for the record. You can also raise your hand from your phone by dialing *9 and use *6 to unmute. All video screens will be turned off with the exception of any commissioners attending virtually and the current petitioner. Once the commission has acted on an application, the petitioner is free to leave the meeting. In the event of any technical difficulties, all matters on the agenda that have not been heard will automatically be continued to the May 1st meeting. Please note the meeting is being recorded. At this time, I would ask the commissioners to introduce themselves. Sarah?
Sarah Grimwood.
Gary?
Gary Kleiman.
Nick?
Nick Pappas.
And Bill?
Bill Kameza.
Okay, thank you all. So the first item on the agenda this evening is a period of public comment.
Hello. Everybody disappeared.
I know. Delia.
We're on an island, Bill.
I know we're it. We're it. Let me find out.
Oh. Did you see the eclipse?
I did. Yes. How about you?
Yeah, I went up to Quebec.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
It was
it was
quite
great.
the view.
Yeah. Turned out we had a great spot.
Huh. You know,
Where'd you watch?
I've never been to Quebec City. So you were in the city itself, or?
No, we're in the Eastern Townships, which are in the southeast corner of Quebec.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a fairly remote area. There's ski slopes there, but not much else.
Huh.
Well, there's
I think-
more. It was cool.
Meeting room. I think they're trying to connect us. Nope.
Okay, can you hear us now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you're
Sorry.
back. Okay.
I'm sorry, I thought I was accepting closed captioning and I ended the meeting. Apologies.
No problem. All right, so we stopped when that happened, so we're right on the first agenda item again, which is a public comment period, limited to 10 minutes, with no more than 2 minutes allocated per speaker. And as a reminder, the public comment is limited to items that are not on the agenda this evening. So, is there any public comment this evening?
I see a hand.
All right.
Karen, hi, do you have a public comment?
I'm sorry, I was just making an adjustment.
Okay,
No problem.
No worries.
Thank you. All right, so next, we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of meeting minutes from January 31st, 2023, February 7th, 2024, and February 28th, 2024. Comments on those, or?
I was saying earlier, I read them all. I thought they were perfect. Good job, Karen. You do very thorough minutes. I had no comments.
All right.
and I agree.
Bill, Nick?
No, none for me. They were good.
Yeah, I had a couple of very minor comments that I just passed on, so.
So then I move that we approve the meeting minutes of January 31st, 2023, February 7th, 2024, and February 28th, 2024 as written.
I assume it should be January 31st, 24.
Oh,
23.
January.
Oh, yeah, 24.
right.
Wait.
Geez, I got somebody's.
Yeah. So maybe
Calendar
there's
going
24.
here. Thank you, Sarah.
Ensuring that the date is correct. I
A
move that we
second.
accept those
A
minutes
second.
as written.
All right, we'll take the vote. Sarah,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
and Bill.
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Thank you. Commissioner comments, just in general. Anything out there?
None tonight.
No.
No.
All right. I think we're all good on the commission side. Delia, director's update.
So we had a good turnout for the pollinator plantings. We got about 55 pollinator kits put together that will be distributed at Earth Day. So thank you, Sarah.
Earth Day or Cool Concord?
Cooler Concord on Earth Day.
Oh, okay.
This
okay,
Saturday,
Okay.
at the library. And Ed and Sarah, as well as some other volunteers, helped
Yeah.
us. It was a very efficient group.
Mhm.
So thanks for that. The DPLM and Megan Zamuto are working on comments for the draft environmental impact report for the Hanscom expansion hangar project. Those comments I mentioned at the last meeting, those are due May 10th. So we're hoping to have something ready to provide to the select board so they can submit a comment letter in time for that. And the Warner's Pond Task Force will hold their 4th meeting tomorrow at 5 o'clock at Harvey Wheeler and on Zoom. And I will be on vacation beginning Friday through the following Friday. That's it.
Great.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah,
Thank
have a
you.
great one. All right, so next up is a couple of continuances.
Yeah. So I move that we continue to May 1st without discussion. 154 Southfield Road, DEP file 1371641, and 166 Commonwealth Ave, DEP file 1371643.
Second.
All right, thank you. And the vote, Sarah,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Bill? And I am an aye as well. All right, so we'll pick it up. Next item on the agenda is our first continuance to be heard this evening. And that is 287 Lindsay Pond Road, and that's DP file 137-1667. Good evening.
Good evening. Bruce Ringwald, from GPR, and I believe virtually online is Shannon Georgie from 111 Works. She's the architect on the property. At our last meeting, we discussed the presence of the existing building and the proposed structure in the same place within the 50-foot setback, a 50-foot buffer. The existing building within the buffer is 24 square feet less disturbance than the current building within the buffer. This plan that is on the screen right now shows some of the constraints that we were dealing with. Yeah, there you go, that's good. The primary septic system is a 20-foot offset to basements, and those buildings, as you can see, are right up against it. The reserve area to the plan north of the site is showing a 25-foot offset from the standpoint for the drainage areas, and they're just outside of that zone. We submitted a series of architectural plans that, Delia, if you wouldn't mind, or Karen, whoever is running it, if we could look at those architectural plans, bring those up. There was half a dozen different ones that I submitted in. Yeah, I think that's it. We can start there. So this is a good one to start with. There is a line that goes from the cottage building, which is the smaller building to the left, and straight across horizontally almost through the portico of the barn building, the larger building. And we're gonna see that more as we go through the next one, but the whole thing was trying to squeeze the program for the applicant into the site, where this is a large site. You can see it expands quite a bit of the property. It's constrained by the wetlands, and hence that's where the existing building was and where we're proposing the current building. If you go to the next slide, that same PDF, just the next page. This shows how this alignment works with the ridge lines, and then the next page shows it even better. So this is we're trying to have the architectural pieces align with each other, as well as the fact that they're pieced between the septic system existing and proposed reserve area, the offsets of those to the building requirements and offsets for the drainage. If you keep on going, we can kind of go through these fairly quickly. Through the portico, you have this ridge line lines right up and it just shows it there. Next slide, please. Just showing this from a different angle and then one more. All right, and then if we go back to the site plan, if you would. So I only have the 20-foot setback line on the primary septic system and not the 25 because there's no space to run drainage down there. But as well, the contours to hit the daylight from the drainage, when you go plan south, in between the septic and the building, if you could fit it, is at a higher elevation. So you have to get even closer to the wetlands than the 50 or the 25-foot zones to hit the breakout elevation from the drain. Whereby the two drain lines that come across to the plan north of the garage, the first one is right at the 50-foot line. The second one, the one that's out there further, is based on the elevations of the window wells in the carriage building. The window wells are a requirement because there's bedrooms down there. We've got it at the minimum elevation to allow for the water to flow out of there. And then we actually have the pipe below the surface of the discharge, but have the elevation of the discharge. So it's going into a 2x2 stoned area there. So the pipe comes in underground into the stone, and then the water would infiltrate into the ground, but in a heavy storm, it would bubble up and flow over the top. That flow over the top is just below the elevation of the windows in the window well. So we squeeze it as far, and you can see how that contour, the dark contour where that point is at, it's running north-south on the plan view, is moving further away from the wetlands. And that's why we chose that position, to get it as far away from the wetlands as possible. As well, since our last meeting, we reduced the outdoor patio that is up against the 50-foot area there. We reduced the parking court in size in several foot in width and shortened it up from the south to the north. We had an area in there for access into the building. We did some minor changes to the architecture and reduced the access into the building so that there was less area there. We went from almost 788 feet of total impervious area within the buffer zone down to 400, and I think it was 72 feet. So we reduced all those.
Is that the net ad? Is that what you're?
That
when you post
that is the net
So I
ad
can follow. Okay.
from what the existing conditions are. That is
Thank you.
correct. 482 feet. Then we had discussion at that last meeting whereby that vertical dash line that you see on the right-hand side of the plan, right along that green line, yep. That is where there has been mowing, historical mowing, on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis, depending upon what time of the season you're in, where the lawn is mowed down kind of a lawn length. And then everything to the right of that, all the way across the rest of the property, is left to grow natural and is mowed once or twice a year. We talked at the last meeting of changing that policy. And that's where the brown line is on the 25-foot line, to bring that area back into natural. I met with Bert a couple weeks ago, and we've proposed pheno bounds. There's one that's off the top of the sheet, and then one in the middle, one in the angle points, right on around to the corner.
Along the brown line.
Along the brown line, along your 25-foot line, so that it's very clear where this no mow line is, to allow for this area to naturalize again. Then where it goes to a lighter green, we've taken that area and we've added in a whole series of plantings, which I will get to in a second. We'll flip to the page, but starting with this area right in here, we had 16 feet of lawn between the existing building and the the shrub growth line, the natural shrub growth line before it went down to the wetlands where there's more mature trees. And we've cut that to 5 feet by extending right out to that 25-foot line to allow that vegetation to naturalize to the meadow grasses, and then for the native plantings that we have proposed. So when we get to that plant, you'll see the native plantings, but we've added in 2,515 additional square feet of restoration of buffer, if you'll call it that darker green. And then we've added in 22 shrubs, which by the shrubs and 1 tree, which by the your calculations for offsets is 510 square feet, for a total of 3,025 square feet of restoration in that buffer area that has been a mowed lawn in the past, for offset from the 482 feet of new impervious area. So I think it's a really good offset and a win-win all the way around on that. If you can, do you have the landscape plan up? Is that available? Down 2 more. There you go. And then this shows you all of the plantings that we have proposed along there, the 1 tree, the 1 dogwood on the corner, and then the series of 22 other shrub plants that are native plants within that area. And again, the lawn area. We've proposed that lawn area be allowed to come back into more of a natural meadow grasses, which are basically what it was, that's just been being mowed down. Bert had made a comment to us just recently on Monday, suggesting that we remove the vegetation and plant new vegetation there. We feel that that's going to be more detrimental to the area than allowing it to come back under a natural way, for the following reasons. To remove that area, we're going to have to take out a bit of root area with the sod that we take out. We're going to have to put in new. It's going to be disturbing that lawn area, that meadow area, right up to the edge of the wetlands. There'll be chances for erosion. There'll be chances that when we seed it with a wetland, I mean, not a wetland, but a wildflower seed mix and meadow mix that we put in there, it's going to take a while for that. As you guys are aware, a lot of those seeds take 2-3 years before they actually start to germinate and generate with the wild seed mix. Our concern is that we're going to have more chances of invasives coming in during that time frame. We're going to have chances of erosion of that soil during that time frame, and sediment migration towards the wetlands. We think that it's a better fix to let the grasses restore naturally and seed in naturally. We talked about possibly aerating it. The wildflower seed mix are very small seeds, and we think that it's going to need to have, some sort of compost with it. But that would be our second recommendation, would be to aerate that area and spread the seed and put some compost over the top of it. It would have less migration than a soil would, with the fines in a soil in that area. Trying to remember what other things were that you'd hit upon. There was a couple notes on the plans. One that the NRC has to approve before the erosion control is removed. I 100% agree. That was a standard note that was in our boilerplate, and I think it's typically in your standard order that you have to approve the line before the stabilization before erosion control can be removed. And I don't remember what the other one was, Bert. I apologize.
Tree protection detail maybe, or?
No, you
Sorry,
don't
what?
have, you reference stormwater management details that are not on the plan.
Right.
That it was submitted to ZBA, but.
Yeah,
that
and
isn't-
I sent you guys a
Yes.
copy of the plan, and the issue with that is that, I apologize, I would have sent it to you normally earlier on if you'd wanted it. this site and the work on the site does not trip any thresholds, either state or local, for stormwater management.
It's just
Well,
that you reference
Yeah,
information on your plan, but you don't provide the plan, so we just need that plan, so.
okay,
as long as we
I
have that.
sent it in
Okay.
today.
Okay, great.
That's what I have.
Could you
Thank
just
you.
remind, oh, sorry.
No, no.
Can I go first?
You bet. You're
Um,
up.
so the area that,
Which plan do you wanna look at?
this one's fine. So the area that you're converting in the 25 to a natural state.
Yeah.
Is that currently just turf grass that's being mowed all the time?
Well, it was meadow and the current owners have been mowing it to that point. I don't know if you have a picture of it. I had some, but I think when you guys were out there and the ones that
Oh,
I guess
so-
submitted.
So this is essentially.
It's indistinguishable from the rest of the lawn? Or-
I mean, it's different because it's wetter, and so there are some sedges and things that are coming up,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
it's mostly turf grass.
Because if you just leave it, all you're gonna get is taller turf grass.
Well, I would disagree from the standpoint that, the line to the other side of that has got taller, more variety of grasses growing within it. And it's gonna seed and come to that area because we wouldn't be mowing it and it wouldn't be knocking it down. So it's gonna have a chance for other grasses to take over in there.
So generally what this was on Estabrook Road a year or two ago. It was a similar situation where they were proposing that to be restored, and so they had a botanist propose a plan where there was, the turf was removed, new
Right.
material was brought in, because it's very difficult to establish.
Well, I agree, and that's why I'm asking questions, because I've tried it on my own lawn.
Right,
Yeah,
me too.
And I've tried seeding on top of turf grass.
Yeah.
And just letting it grow and see what comes in, and then clearing the whole lot and putting down seed. And the seed does come in the first year. I mean, you don't get
Oh,
everything
yeah,
the first
it
year,
definitely does.
but most of these seed mixes put in things that will show the first year.
Mhm.
So I agree with Bert that would be a much better approach for sure.
Yeah, I would just simply agree, just generally. Turf is pretty tough stuff. I
Right,
mean,
Yeah.
it's just tough to grow through that
Right.
stuff and it grows fast and
I-
it's pretty competitive.
yeah, as I said, I've tried to do it the lazy way. I've tried in different parts of my lawn and I've just given up on the turf bit because it's just messy turf grass.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, just going back a little bit, and thank you for I guess, the explanation on how the houses are situated on site, et cetera. So you don't think there's any room to push that house back at all? It seems like it doesn't seem like that reserve site is, within inches of,
It's not within inches. It has a little bit of room there. There is a large, right, if you put your cursor just north of the garage, there's a tree symbol there. Right there, that is a very large tree, that exists there. Those pipes have shown in a straight line. I'm gonna put them, we're gonna work with a contractor to put them right up the side of the garage building to stay out of the root system for those. Again, the architectural plan and the program for the needs of the homeowner was such that, we came in early. We met with Delia and Bert to confirm that the 50-foot policy is such that we are allowed to put a new structure at that point as long as we're not going closer. We felt since we weren't going closer and that we were reducing the footprint within the 25-foot, the 50-foot rather, where the building's at 30.8, that we were, working within what we felt is the intent. And now we have the confines of, okay, we have the setbacks to the road, we have the setbacks from the buildings, and we work the buildings in the program to squeeze everything in there. And we feel we're really tight, it's the tree to the north side of the garage is more of a constraint than the septic, but the septic and the drainage are a constraint as well. And yeah, there's a couple feet. And if you slide your building up a couple feet, now the architecture doesn't line up. The peaks of the eaves, the peaks of the roof don't line up. The whole thing is,
Well, that's an architectural issue versus a NRC issue, if you will.
yeah, 100%.
And I'm also just gonna point out that when you showed us this plan, we were talking about another project and you said, can I just get some thoughts on this?
Uh-huh. And I was
And-
just
and-
clarifying the policy issue. Yeah.
And what we said was that there is the ability, but what you have to do is demonstrate that you don't have an ability to move the structure outside or further outside of the 50.
That's correct.
So I think that's still what we don't have. I mean, there's information that's been provided. Now, we don't know what that tree is. And honestly, I mean, if somebody wanted to do a redevelopment and a tree was in their way, they would seek approval to remove it and then mitigate for that. So I don't know what that tree is. I don't recall.
I don't
what
recall
that is
either.
on
I
the-
believe, I
But in
think
any
it's a
event, I
large
think
oak or
there's-
maple.
Do we know how large?
I'm gonna guess that it was a good 12 to 15.
Okay. So there are, I think
Mid-size.
there are, right, mid-size. I mean, I think there are still options, but what we had asked for at the last meeting was a plan, you had mentioned that there were iterations that had been considered. And I think what we had expected to see was that there were going to be plans submitted that showed the different,
Existing iterations, not to,
right,
We
start
tried this,
redesigning
ran
again,
into
but
this
just.
problem, we tried this,
Yeah,
ran into that
that's all.
problem. For
Right.
all of these reasons,
The
we have
setbacks
no
and the-
choice
right.
but to
right.
put it,
Land
Just-
here.
Because
just
that's
a
what the
narrative.
policy requires.
Right, so
Right.
one of those, I can describe a little bit, if you take this image and you rotate it as such. And even sliding them a little bit closer, the building gets closer in on the right-hand side, the east side to the wetlands, because that runs north-south as well. So we tried rotating that, but it gets pushed that way because of the setbacks to the property line along the road, which is, this 40-foot setback. So
It does seem that there's the ability, I understand that there's a, unidentified, or, I mean, it's shown on the plan, but we don't know what it is or the size. It does seem like there's the ability to move both the new home and the garage in this direction and be at least further outside of the,
And if you do, then you, as I stated at the last meeting, then you have such a pinch point between the two structures. On the cottage building to the barn building, that you run into, inability to access to the back for the septic, inability for, separation. No area for, snow removal, emergency services, getting in between the structures. It just, it creates a number of issues.
You're talking about the pinch point between the ADU and the house on the lower left, if you will?
That's correct. House in the lower
But
right.
if you
yes.
remove that tree, you could slide the building back and to the right a little bit and not create a pinch point.
If I remove the tree, I could slide the
You
building.
could slide the building up and you could also slide it this way a little bit.
Well, yes, but as I go that way, then I get closer to the wetlands. I mean,
so I'm.
No, but
I
you'd be
think
out of
we-
the 50, so anyway.
Right, and I mean, the purpose of this meeting is
Yeah.
not to design the project or go through the various iterations,
Correct.
right? So I think really what would be helpful is to see what other, possibilities have been considered or, what can be done to move this further outside of the 50. To see that on the plan.
Okay, and I'll just hold my other question, which was, where you have the, I guess if this plan were to proceed, it seems like you're working in the 25 based on where you've set your erosion controls.
we're working in the,
Well, you're 30.8 feet away.
Yeah.
For the new foundation,
correct.
so you're gonna stay out of your erosion controls are in the 25.
We put the erosion control right up to the edge of lawn so that they would have space to, work on the foundation, take out the old foundation, put in the new
I
foundation.
understand, but you'll need at least a waiver at a minimum. And
I applied for a waiver,
for the 25,
for the 0 to 50, I applied.
aren't they distinct? A 25 and a 50? And I would just also just suggest I would try to keep those controls as tight to the 25 as possible.
Well, I'm actually gonna have to move them based on what we've talked about tonight, right to the edge of the wetlands, because we want to replace that turf grass.
Mhm.
So,
So there would be two, like
Yeah.
you would have one behind here,
Yes.
and then you would have another one for the construction.
Yeah, because you couldn't put one back right in the BBW business, the construction guys will take what you give them.
yeah,
Right?
I understood,
They'll be-
I understood, I would, yeah, but
I just, yeah. And again, just as you know, if this plan were to go forward, the patio being right at the 50, you just gotta be careful not to, it just takes, when you're right on the 0 lot line, if you will, it takes a lot of care not to trip over it.
there was substantial larger patio before that basically fit into that open space between the purple line and the patio, and it went further to the north as well. So it's been shrunk down just big enough to allow for a table and a cup and a
Yeah,
chair
it's
to
just
be
a-
out there. It's not that big.
Just to stay up, just no footfalls, right? Because that's, you don't want, just want to avoid that, that's all. It's just right at the 50, that's all.
Totally
Which is
understood.
fine.
A project like this would be staked for the foundation and then pinned in the
Sure.
foundation.
Yeah.
Everything is to be pinned, so
Yeah.
be full control.
Okay. Nick, Bill, anybody else on the commission, any further comments?
Well, as much as I appreciate what you've done with the pheno markers and restoring that land, but I am curious, why not extend that all the way up to the 50-foot marker, say north of the patio? Why not that up in that area? Why isn't that part of the no mow zone up there? Yes.
Because the homeowners have had this for years as lawn down to the edge. It's been, part of what they've enjoyed as a lawn. We've explained as a team to them that this is an issue for the commission, that they would rather it not be lawn and that it get naturalized. At the last meeting, this was something that we offered and we talked about. And we brought that back to them and they agreed to that from that standpoint. So if you zoom out a little bit, please, Delia. And a bit more, take it right on out to the plan. This lot goes over there quite a bit, and about in the middle of my notes is in another lot, the last buildable lot of Lindsay Pond Road. Those of you that have been around this long time, you remember that there was a limitation on the number of homes that could be built in there, number of lots that could be built in there. These homeowners have purchased that lot to preserve it and have let that lot go back to wild conditions as well, so that it maintains the meadow and the view across to the conservation lands that are or the privately reserved lands that are to the south of this property on the other side of the hedgerow. So these homeowners have done a lot. There are 3 letters that I submitted to the board, several of which the abutters are all in favor of this, and they've all talked about how these homeowners have done a lot for the neighborhood and the community in preserving open areas. So they've taken a whole lot of area and set it in your restrictions and more so. That line goes all the way out to the 100-foot into the road that they're keeping as meadow, as well as keeping another building from being constructed in this other lot that's still as a developable lot in the neighborhood.
Is that been restricted in any way under a conservation restriction, or is it just restricted under their what they're holding on to?
with their purchasing it from others to hold on to it, to keep it open.
Yeah, no, we saw those letters. Those were good letters from the neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, any public comment regarding this project? Seeing any, Delia?
I'm not.
Okay. All right, so with that, you good to continue to the next meeting, the May 1st meeting?
I have no choice.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you back on May 1st.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Likewise. All right, so our next continuance this evening is the notice of intent, New England Deaconess Association, DEP file 137-1659. Good evening.
Good evening. For the record, Greg Hockmuth from Epsilon Associates, here representing Deaconess, Amy Capistrati here as well, and Elizabeth Hannah Morswick, you guys know, is here for a surprise. We're doing some proposed landscaping improvements as well that we're going to talk about a little later.
So we actually do it on, because we have people on
Oh, okay,
online, so
Great.
we'll project.
I'm just going to put this here so we can look at it.
Yep.
Well, this is I think our third public hearing, and we thank the commission for their patience. We've been working with the engineers to come up with what we hope is a final plan that has a lot of the bells and whistles that I think the commission is looking for. Guess I'll just go through some of the changes. At the last hearing, we talked a little bit about the ramp. How are you gonna get onto this boardwalk? We've added that ramp, which is, up in that location there near the entrance drive. And it's been designed so it's ADA compliant. It's almost flat coming off that sidewalk. And we've shown a detail on the second sheet that I'll show the
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. thank
commission
you.
when we get to that page. We also added some erosion control details. We've got two different types of erosion controls proposed here. Compost filter sock, which would be proposed around the staging areas, and a small section of trench silt fence, which is proposed to be installed between the BBW and the wetland replication area. When we talk about the replication area, I'll show you where that is. We've designed the plan so that what you see here is engineered, it's to scale. The green sections are the sections of boardwalk proposed over BBW. Those sections would be 4 feet wide, 3 feet above existing grade. We did hear from DEP, and they don't have a regulation, as you know, but they do have a policy, which is similar to what you like to see, is higher, let some light in on both sides, and DEP seemed to think that 3 feet was acceptable.
For 4 foot width.
Yeah. So we did revise the plan to add those details to this plan, both in note form and on the detail sheet on page 2. And in the sections that are not in the BBW, the ground sections, those were originally proposed to be no less than 6 inches off the ground. At the last hearing, one of the commission members asked, why not try to make that a little higher as well? So we heard that loud and clear, and we're proposing no less than 1 foot. For this to be ADA compliant, we can't have a lot of ups and downs, but 1 foot above existing grade will be better than 6. And I do want to reiterate the fact that we're not proposing to take down any trees as a result of this boardwalk. And we're going around stands of shrubs. We did move one of the staging areas outside of the, I think it was originally proposed partially in the 25-foot no disturb. We slid it a little bit further down the main road along the right of way just to get it out of that zone. And it's still gonna work just fine in that location.
Right.
And we were asked to add the approximate location of the existing Buttercup Trail. We had that data, which was great. We didn't have to go back and reshoot it. So we sent the shape file to Niche, and they were able to get it on this plan. you know, it's plus or minus 5 feet in spots because the GPS device that was used to locate it, they're not that great. Niche did not survey it, so I do want to point that out, but the location should be close enough to show it approximately. And once we dropped it on this plan, we did have to adjust that ramp that comes down off the boardwalk to join the Buttercup Trail slightly. And that's near the staging area that we moved. You can see that little spur that comes off. So it was good that we showed that. It
Hmm.
allowed us to show the spur in the right location. We're not gonna fight DEP on the replication, regardless of how much we're proposing to alter, we're still altering wetlands, so. Based on my read of the regs, we should restore those. So we're proposing to replicate those wetlands out near the road. I think it's about 6 square feet plus or minus. And even though it's 6 square feet, we still thought we should include a detailed wetland replication construction methodology. So that was done, and that's incorporated on sheet 2, which I can show you in a minute. Let's see, the section of trail that's proposed to be abandoned. You can see that dark line type on the left that parallels the paved road. That's the section of the Buttercup Trail that has the bog bridges that they're proposing to abandon. We added a note that the bog bridges are to be removed by hand, and that once the trail is abandoned, any exposed earth is to be scarified and seeded with New England wetland seed mix. Some of it's not in the wetland, but I think the New England wet mix will still do just fine there. So we've clarified the restoration of that. Talked about the ramps, the heights. Oh, so I guess we can go to sheet 2. This is gonna look a lot different because we didn't have a sheet 2 before. Bill from Audubon had done a pretty successful boardwalk down in Nahant, and he had a structural engineer put together a design for him. Based on our read of what we've submitted to date, we had 3 different specifications for this. So Bill looked at that Nahant plan and told us what he wanted to do, redlined it. We got that over to Niche, and they had one of their structural engineers go through it. They made some subtle changes to what Bill wanted to do, but that allowed them to stamp this plan. So now we have specifications that are stamped. We have notes that talk about the design, and what you see here is what is proposed and hopefully will be built. The top left is the ramp that comes in off the sidewalk. It's slightly wider. I think it's 8 feet wide off the sidewalk, just to give some room to maneuver before getting on to the actual 5-foot boardwalk in that section. The auger pipes still are 1 inch, and they are still aluminum. So both engineers thought that that would be suitable, and that's what's shown on the plan that they stamped. Originally, they were leaning towards steel, and we got a call from Niche, and they were thinking about recommending steel, but after a second look, they did add a note on this specification sheet that said aluminum was fine. They're calling them, instead of auger pipes, they're calling them helical piles.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But the bottom right of that sheet 2, that has the construction methodology for the replication area.
And just a quick question. In the center of that framing plan at the top, where you go 5 feet and 4 feet, is the recollection is 4 feet in the, where it's in the BVW, and then it widens out to 5 feet where it's outside?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And there are some bump outs too. I think they're
Yeah.
8 feet long, and those are slightly wider, but there are no bump outs proposed in BVW.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And the top of deck is what's 1 foot above grade, right? Not the bottom, or
I thought it
is
was
No, it's the
the
bottom.
bottom is 1 foot
Yep.
above grade? Okay.
The bottom
Yep.
stringer.
And bottom is 3 feet above in the BVW.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. And in some spots, it's gonna be a little higher than that.
Right.
But we wanted to specify no less than 1 outside and no less than 3 within BVW. So that's it for the revisions to the design and what we've come up with so far. Do we want to talk about this before we go on to the landscape plan?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I can tell you, I had a couple of questions, but you answered them. Well,
Great.
I'm good for my perch.
I do
Sarah,
too.
Gary,
Yeah, thank you.
Nick, Bill, you guys good for the moment or?
Nothing else. Yep, good.
All right. So that brings us to the landscape plan, which is something that's new. You hadn't seen that until a couple weeks ago, probably. Deaconess has been working with Lily on the grounds to come up with some improvements, many of which are well outside the buffer. But this area you see here is the entrance, one of the entrance driveways, in the location where the boardwalk ramp is being proposed. If you've been out to the site, there's a little bench, there's a landscape bed and a giant pine tree. So the proposal is to revamp this entrance. And part of that revamping requires the removal of some trees, or they'd like to remove some trees. One of them is a large white pine, two scraggly crab apples, and on the other side, furthest from the wetland, still in the buffer, is a red maple that's pretty close to the paved surface.
And one, so if you can scroll down a little bit. Yeah, so there's one other. No, I guess we haven't removed those. There are actually two white pines on the right side
Oh, okay.
that we'd
Yep.
like to remove. And
And
then
two crab apples.
two crab apples and then the red maple on the left, which is crowding everything.
But then bring back 8 new trees,
Right.
as well as many other species that are shown here on this plan. The question I had was, why does the pine tree have to be removed? And the answer is, it's shading everything else up below it. And the crab apples, well, crab apples are crab apples. Serviceberry, I think, will be much better than the crab apples.
This is part of a much larger project
Mhm.
to redesign both entrances and the entire streetscape along Old Road to 9 Acre Corner, all the way along to create a linear park for the residents, which is, it's really their only walking area. Now they'll have the boardwalk too, but, and so this is, the hope was that the two entrances would relate to each other in terms of the planting. We're essentially using the same planting bed that's already there, but we're trying to make it more native, more attractive, no more orange impatiens. And, you know, just give it a big facelift.
Yeah,
If there is no removal proposed in the no disturb zone, and there are a few trees down in that location currently, and they're shown in the bottom right of that plan.
Which are approximately located, but it's well beyond. We have a survey that shows where the existing plant bed is, and those other trees are located approximately by me, but they were beyond where the survey showed the plant bed. We didn't get that area surveyed. It was more the other part of the streetscape.
and just to confirm that all the new plantings will be native?
They're all native.
Okay, thank you.
And then
And is that true for the rest of the landscape plan as well, outside the
No.
buffer?
No, it's not. It's, I mean, I've tried to
So
use
of the 30
natives.
trees that are coming down and the 60 that are going back with the regular Newbury.
So we're doing, we're coordinating with the town of Concord, the 250th
50th
birthday. So we're having red oaks, red maples, possibly sugar maples, but we may turn to lindens all along the sidewalk. And then inside the sidewalk, we're having a combination of, I mean, there are a lot more native plants than there are now. I mean, we're doing Physocarpus, Amelanchier, dogwoods, some spruce, also some arborvitae, and we have some screening issues and hydrangeas, and then some actually perennial beds that aren't not completely native. So it's a combination, but we
Okay.
really tried hard, partially as a request from the residents and from Amy, that, you know, we think about native plants and try and do as much as we can.
Great, thank you.
And rather than do a separate filing, we thought it made sense to piggyback these improvements onto the notice of intent that's currently before you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
that
stuff
seems
gets
to make
in there.
sense. So
No,
adjacent.
it's a
Yeah.
great project. I've
Yeah.
been watching it progress.
My sleepless nights about, oh my God, all of the streets, I hope what we're putting back is good enough.
Okay, you good?
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you for that. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Commission, any comments, concerns?
None. I think it's a
None.
great project. I think I really appreciate all the efforts that the applicants have gone to meet our requirements, because I know regulators can be
Yep,
tricky in wanting things to line up with regulations, but
and did it very efficiently too.
Yeah.
Yeah, moved right along, so thank you. All right, any public comment on the project before us? Not seeing it? Okay. I think with that, we have an order of conditions.
you got it.
I've done that one. Let me just get organised. So I move that we close the hearing and issue an order of conditions for 165 Ornac DP file 1371659 with findings A, B, C, and D, standard conditions 1 through 20, and special conditions 21 through 54.
Second.
All right, we'll take the vote. Sarah,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Counts. All right, and I am an aye as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck.
Appreciate the presentation.
Thanks.
Good luck with the project. Have a good night. All right.
Yeah.
Moving on to our last continuance of the evening, notice of intent, 292 and 294 Baker Ave, DP file 137-1660. Name and addresses for the record, please.
My name's Tom Mikulak, civil engineer with Beals and Thomas.
Dan Feeney, civil engineer at Bales and Thomas, which is 144 Turnpike Road in Southborough. We also have Ryan Butler from Oxbow Associates and Kevin Hurley from Hurley and Associates as well.
Good evening, guys. Thanks for joining us. All right,
So,
floor is yours.
all right, so since we were last in front of the commission, we issued a revised set of documents, plans dated March 21st, responding to GPI's peer review. A lot of those revisions were a result of architectural changes to the buildings. So we had to modify some of the site features to accommodate those.
Can I just ask that, just back up to say, from the last meeting, you guys prepared the dewatering plan, so the well point system,
Yes.
because I don't think the commission's had time to look at the response, GPI's letter or your responses.
Okay,
So let's just start with the well point system.
Sure.
Maybe talk about that a little bit and then we
Yep,
can
sure, that's
touch on the GPI review and your
Right.
responses, but I think that's probably gonna be,
Is
Okay.
CPW still?
they haven't looked at it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
they're
that'll
still looking at
Continue
it.
on.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so we got the letter, like it was yesterday, from
Yes.
GPI, with their comments on it, and we just, incorporated their comments and had a response letter. So
Yeah.
I can
Which is
talk
great.
about it
Appreciate that
specifically.
you were so quick on the response.
No, we wanted to make sure if there was something to discuss tonight, and so we
Yeah.
understand that we may need to issue further response or
Right, I mean,
updates
they'll
based
take a look
on
at
that.
your response. Public
Yeah.
Works is still,
Yeah.
they're, so.
This
we're-
way, at least,
so we're
maybe
behind.
Public Works is
on that.
looking at it as well as,
Yeah.
Yeah.
GPI for the responses.
You're ahead of the
So
curve.
it could be one last revision between the two of those things, if
Right.
need be.
Okay,
So, am I presenting your plan?
Yeah, if you could
Okay.
share that, that would be great.
thank you.
So I'm gonna bring up what the original drawing was. Is
That's
that,
fine.
is that,
Yep, that works.
okay,
Okay, so the original drawing, those, and if you can just scroll down, we'll start with 292. So off of Baker Ave there, you can see that we added a construction entrance and there's a crosshatched area that basically aligns with the building excavation. In 292, that there are 2 levels of podium parking below. So there is a relatively deep excavation there, and that's gonna all need to be dewatered And we also propose like a little lay down / stockpile area just south of the building. And this, the initial design, we basically just showed like a couple of areas where there were, sumps that were, you're pumping the groundwater that'd be anticipated. Obviously you have the pond that's right there. So pumping to a tank. And then discharging. So yeah, this is, right, so this is,
Is that a frac tank you're pumping to?
yes, so each system would have a frac tank. But yeah, I'm sorry, if you just pan back down to 292, just to be
Okay.
Yeah, right.
clear. Yeah, because I was just having a little trouble seeing. So that would be sheeted on 3 sides. And would also be proposing the, yeah, I'm looking at this one here.
You're saying the foundation would be sheeted on 3 sides?
Yes.
Okay.
Because to basically cut off,
Right.
like on
Cut
the
the
pond
flow.
side and then either end, you'd have sheeting there.
Mhm.
And so you would still need pumps in there. And then on the easterly side, that's where you'd have the well point system for this building. And that would be pumped to that frac tank. Yes, and that frac tank would then be pumped to discharge, to the northwest, to that,
Let it go there.
yes, there's an outfall area.
Augment
That's-
existing riprap. Riprap
Yes,
apron and
that's-
level
that's
spreader
the-
outfall.
Existing surface compensation basin.
Oh,
So that's where everything would want to flow out via gravity anyway. So there's some existing riprap there, basically the spillway from the basin that's the existing pond, that's just, northeast of that point. And we added some additional riprap there to, just anticipating any sort of flows. And then for 294, it's a little bit, even though it's not as deep, it's more of a perimeter for the well point system, 360 degrees around not only the building, but the adjacent stormwater system and floodplain compensation chambers that are all underground. So that's why you can see like around this perimeter, you're gonna see a larger area encompassing not only the building, but those features as well. Just given the elevations, and this building is basically, there's a lot more within the floodplain as compared to 292. So similarly, that well point system, all the well points are gonna be pumped to a common frac tank, and that'll be discharging basically to the same outfall that we have in that area that we previously discussed earlier. Yeah, and that was, there is a supportive excavation, like just on the pond side of there. It's a little tough to see with all the different lines, but the idea is that, yeah, they are still going down like one full level to do that podium parking and just to be safe. They'd likely need some sort of shoring there on that face of the excavation. But yeah, that's generally what we were proposing
You're
as far
talking
as.
here.
Yes,
yeah,
Yeah,
Yep.
right along that.
yep,
the crinkly edge, yeah, down below that
yeah.
supportive excavation. And what's
Yeah.
that support? That's,
Likely be additional sheeting braced,
Mm.
as required. But yeah, and once again, I mean, this would be subject to,
Is this a little bit means and methods at the end of the day?
certainly falls into that.
Yeah.
But we just, at this stage, we wanted to give a pretty good, we have a pretty good idea that needs something along these lines. Would it be exactly this? No, but I think, the main takeaway is that you're gonna have the well point system and there's gonna be some, additional support with the sheeting to cut off as much groundwater as you can. And just going back to the well point system, that's the type of system that you're gonna install the well points weeks in advance of any excavation and just try and draw down the water table ahead of time before you start excavating the material. So it's gonna be coming out not saturated.
So you install the entire well point system?
Yes.
The whole thing goes in at the same time?
Yes, that would be the plan. And like for this example, for 294, because it's the entire perimeter, you'd put the wells in, you wouldn't do any excavation, turn the pumps on to try and draw that groundwater table down before they do get into excavating the building there. And the idea being that the material that's coming out, that's being excavated, isn't gonna be as saturated. And similarly on the other building as well, but that when you have a little bit more sheeting to just try and cut off the groundwater, because you are starting to come up to a little bit of a higher elevation for 292. So that was the idea, that for 294, because you're lower, you want 360 degrees around it, whereas for 292, you just want, mainly sheeting to try and cut off the pond side of the excavation, but supplement that with a well point system as well, for any groundwater that might want to be flowing toward the pond, say from that hill that's east of it. Yeah, that's, generally speaking, those were like the main takeaways of this. We still do show like a little bit of a surface basin in the corner to try and, still gonna need to direct any sort of surface runoff to temporary sedimentation areas. So not only dewatering water we're gonna have to deal with, but then any sort of construction runoff, and that's once again means and methods to where we're gonna have a SWIP for the project, and that'll dictate how construction flows are handled. Give all the standard operating procedure for temporary disturbances.
Yeah, and to, I guess, to the question about the means and methods, GPI did comment on, that the construction well point plan be submitted to the DPW and the commission. So, there would be, as, we would assume it would, end up as a condition, that those be submitted. So you'd get the full details at that point, but it would be something similar to this concept being shown here.
Right, because eventually what the subcontractor will submit to the construction manager, right? His well point design and stuff, right?
Yeah,
I would assume.
it'd be like a shop drawing
Yeah.
almost submittal, but that outlines it, and certainly then that could be, submitted to the commission and to the DPW, so, ahead of time, there's a record of what's going to be done. And then if there's any modifications that happen during construction, obviously there'd be a notification, that'll, in order to control this, we might need, a little extra over here or something like that.
Sure.
So there's an assumption that it's 1 to 2 CFS of flow. And that would be documented by borings prior, presumably, to the SWIP being prepared.
Yeah.
So geotechnical report would inform the
Right.
actual flows.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we did coordinate, with, the company who may end up being the general contractor on this, there's no contract signed, but, they use their, we gave them information on the soils and groundwater levels, and, so that was, the estimate based on that information. They think, 2 would be on the high side.
Right.
It would probably be more like 1 CFS, but, that would have to be confirmed, once, construction's approaching and they're doing, full geotech for the building designs and all that, they'll be able to get much more information on that.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it at the last meeting, that CPW would want to witness those.
Yeah.
I just have a kind of a simple comment. If you can scroll down to the other entrance, it just, you got your entrance there, and then you've got your stockpile area there. You're right on the edge of the building.
Yeah.
And if you're just curious how you might approach this, well, again, it's not room for us. It just seems like a very busy, congested entry point there, especially if when you're excavating and you're loading. Again, I know it seems like a tight site. It just seems like that just is a logistics issue perhaps for the general contractor, but.
Yeah, and again, the anticipation is that the stockpile area is, that material is gonna come out of that, the lower level of the podium parking, that's really the big cut. And it's going to be immediately
Like live
from the
load,
site,
yeah.
And that's, the advantage of the well point system is that, as Tom noted, it's gonna come out fairly dry. So it's not gonna be sopping wet and have to dry out, before, it gets put in trucks and trucked off, so. But yeah, I think, it is certainly, a limited space right at the Baker Ave entrance, so, anything they can do to pull it in a little bit, both from the access drive as well as from the Baker Ave. Frontage itself would be helpful.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's sort of like the maximum extents that we show.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I believe that covers the
Okay.
watering plan.
So again, I think the other point shared, so you're okay with the note that she's suggesting as a condition that the stockpile is not hanging around long, it's moving, so it's not creating that kind of issue, right?
Yeah, I
That
mean,
was in your letter too.
yeah, there's
Right.
only so much room on the site.
Okay,
So
fine.
it's,
Yep.
it's- yeah.
All right.
That's the intention is that it can't stay for too long because then they can't take any more material out until that
Yeah.
stuff's gone.
Right.
It's gotta come out of the excavation and go off the
That
site.
is in the way.
Make room for the next,
Excavation.
excavation.
Okay.
So we would also, and we've kind of talked about this, but, include a condition that, the geotech is provided to us and CBW, borings witnessed by CBW, and that if there are changes to the dewatering plan, they might need to come back to NRC for review.
I see there's a notation just here that I think that, and I'm sorry, I'm jumping to the boardwalk now,
Mhm.
if that's okay. That concrete footings were proposed, and there was a discussion about helical piers perhaps being less, intrusive perhaps, when that time comes around. Are you guys involved with any of that in terms of just coordinating with ownership in regard to, have they considered the helical piers versus the concrete footings?
Yeah, I think, we spoke to the structural engineer and they were gonna review it
Okay,
as far as like, cause it was fairly substantial. I can't remember, like even with the concrete, it was like 3 concrete piers every 6 or 8 feet. I can't remember offhand.
Yeah.
So
something
a
like
lot.
helical piles, I think you're just looking at even more, just given the nature of them. I mean, it's more bearing, I believe, on those concrete shafts that they would initially propose. I don't wanna,
Yeah, I mean, I've driven a lot of helicals and some take 10 tons each, and
Yeah.
so they have pretty good bearing capacity.
I mean, we can review
Well,
it again.
Yeah, I mean, if,
So,
yeah, that's fine. If
Yeah.
I would ask them to review it to see if there's a substitution possibility.
So this is, yeah. I think we understand, I mean, we know that this is gonna be designed by others, but I think it's important on the plan to show the least invasive potential that, could be designed. So nobody's stamping this plan, presumably, and this is just a schematic.
Yeah, it's not an unreasonable schematic. It's just,
Yeah,
just a
Yeah.
question of, but,
if it's reasonable to
but all
have
the
it,
components, right?
Yeah.
The base components
Right.
should be identified.
and that's another item that's just gonna be informed by that final geotech
Right.
report. So
Sure, yeah,
certainly the bearing capacities of either system.
right,
okay. And just a note, again, I know we had some prior discussions, I guess we could say with ownership or ownership representatives about the CR and, the not really accepting the land that was offered. Thank you, though. And I think this was just noted to be a special condition, right? Then, prior to the construction of the multimodal path within the conservation restriction, the applicant shall assist the town with amending the CR if so required. And I think that assist is just to be pro the trail, and also just, I don't think it's a money thing. It's just we need just basic assistance, right? In terms of just plans or a signature on a permit or something of that nature. So I think it's just generally just light assist, if you will. So maybe that's better taken up with ownership, but just wanted to pass that along as well.
Well, I can say that we're in agreement with that,
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
and that would be with respect to the CR that's on the land that's owned by the applicant.
I think that's correct. Yeah. All right. Nick, Bill, Gary, Sarah, any further comments?
No.
No.
Okay. You guys good continuing so we can hear what Public Works has to say and hopefully start to narrow this down?
Yes, yeah, I think we have to, yeah, to keep the public record open, so.
Yeah.
sure. Yep.
Okay, very good. Well, we'll expect to see you back on the first.
Is that the next one?
I believe it's May first.
Makers.
Thanks very much.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, likewise. Oh, before you go, my fault. Is there any public comment regarding this project or application? All right, seeing that, thank you, guys. Sorry for the football. All right, so we're on to new applications to be heard this evening, and this is the first one up is an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. 211 Madison Drive, DEQ file 137-1668.
Hi, I'm here for that.
Great.
You all right?
All right. All right. So hello, everyone. So hi, my name is Nathaniel. I'm with Stanton Area.
Yeah.
Staff could somehow, share the plan for this. That would probably be preferred. I could do it as well, but if staff can easily share the plan, that'd probably be easier for me. In the meantime, though, so this is as you said, abbreviated notice of resource area delineation at the lot that's titled originally 22B off of Madison Drive. So this is about just under a 2-acre lot that's vacant off of Madison Drive. And we filed an ANRAD because there is an isolated depression on the site. So we're seeking confirmation that the depression that is on site is just a non-jurisdictional isolated depression. We had a wetland scientist, Dave Crossman, who's also on the call, go out to look at it, confirm that it's not a wetland and not an isolated wetland. And then on top of that, our office prepared calculations in accordance with the Wetland Protection Act to analyze whether or not it was isolated land subject to flooding, which would be another jurisdictional area, but the calculations confirmed that it is not an isolated land subject to flooding. Other than those two things, the only other thing was we had Dave Crossman go out and look for to see if there's any vernal pool activity. I mean, if you want to hear from him what he saw, I can hand it over to him.
Great, thank you.
Hi,
Hi, Dave.
Hey, Dave, just name and address for the record, please.
uh,
You ready?
Dave Crossman, BNC Associates. So I have been out to the site a couple times, and there is wood frog chorusing occurring yesterday and a couple weeks ago, and there may have been some a couple weeks before that because they had quite a bit of activity on a number of sites around in surrounding communities. We had a little bit of a warm spell at the first week of March. So there is activity occurring within the body of water. So it would seem that it's no doubt a potential vernal pool at this time. And I guess my understanding is that Delia would like it certified at some point.
Mhm.
And that is correct.
Mhm.
Okay. So I can take care of that this spring. Well, I guess right now, in the next couple of weeks, since everything's happening right now, it's so I'll get that underway and start the paperwork and all that other fun stuff.
Great. And Delia, just to tie up that conversation, and did you had to talk with the builder as well, and
Yes.
he's on board with this idea with the wood frogs that it's okay to be.
Yes, so
Certified.
I did speak with him and he is comfortable with the pool being certified. With the understanding that because the bylaw only regulates certified vernal pools, it does not apply to this project that he is hoping to undertake now. He will want to move as much of the development outside of that 100-foot buffer zone. But really the protection would be in place for the future homeowner
Yeah,
to keep that as wooded as possible.
The protection around a vernal pool is 100 feet?
Yes,
but he's got his project up now, right?
he does. He has a project that he was hoping to get a building permit, and this is actually how this came to us, was that
Right.
when we went to sign off on it. We said, oh, that pool needs to be looked at and determined whether or not it's jurisdictional. And he is open to, not a full redesign.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
project's being designed.
Is
but
the
if it-
project on this?
It's
parcel?
not, because
No.
this is just the ANRAD.
So we're just,
Oh.
and we're just talking, and is the major concern the location of the driveway, really, in terms of
It's
proximity to
the
the?
house as well as the
Oh,
driveway.
it is, okay.
Right, so the driveway can't be shifted, I
Yeah.
don't think, but maybe. I think it's doubtful, but there's probably some tweaking that can be done to the
Sure.
house. It will still be
Yeah.
within that 100-foot boundary. But he has, expressed willingness to, which is great, because there's really nothing binding
Yeah.
to that at this point, since it's not certified yet, but he's agreed to certify it and then to work to tweak the design as best as he can.
Okay.
I think it's the,
Seems like a reasonable balance.
Yeah.
In terms of where everybody's at.
Right.
Right, in terms of he's applied,
right,
it's not certified, but he's willing to certify to.
right. Right,
For future protection.
yep.
How's the? Nick, Bill, you guys are okay with that kind of
Yep. Sounds good.
approach?
Yes.
Okay, Sarah, Nick, Gary, excuse me.
Yeah.
Jeez. The 80th.
Tired.
All right, let's see. Let's see if I got anything else. Okay. So I think with that, do we have anything written up for this?
We do.
I sent
We
it
do.
late in the day, so you do
Oh,
have
yeah.
it. There's some
Okay.
findings,
Thank you.
that, Karen
Yeah, I have them.
Oh, okay, great.
that
All right.
basically said that the applicant agrees to certify. There's some old silt fence from
All
when
right.
it was put in
1,000.
30 years
Yeah.
ago.
Mhm.
He's willing to remove.
Okay,
Yeah.
before you do that, any public comment on 211 Madison? Not saying any? All right. Thank you, Sarah.
I just want to clarify how much of this I have to read.
I would just say with findings 1, 2, 3.
That's what I need to say.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is an order of conditions. is
It's
that
a order of resource area determinate. Delineate, order of resource area determination.
Okay, I move that we close the hearing and issue an order of
Resource area
resource area determination for
delineation.
delineation, sorry, for 211 Madison Drive, DP file 1371668 with findings 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
All right, and the vote, Sarah,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I am an I as well. Thank you very much. Good luck with the project.
All right, thank you, and thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our final new application this evening is a RDA, 63 Bruce Road, RDA file number 24-3. Good evening. Yes, who do we have this evening? Is it?
Hi, sorry, it's Mike Bushnell. You hear me?
Hi, Mike, how are you?
Good, good. Yes, that application, I am gonna be purchasing 63 Bruce Road in the next couple weeks and redeveloping the property. As you can see in the plan, the back right corner, I don't know, are you gonna put that up, Delia, or,
I am. Give me 1 second.
oh, sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. Usually everybody wants to put up their own plans.
Yeah.
Oh,
But nobody has tonight, so you're not
no,
alone.
that's past my pay grade. So, like I said, I'm purchasing this in the next couple of weeks and gonna redevelop the existing single family that's there. We have the 100-foot buffer in the back right corner. The shed back there is actually in very good shape and completely overgrown, and I'd like to clear all the brush away and debris. It's probably 20 years worth of brush and debris that have overgrown the shed.
Mhm.
I apologize. I guess I should have supplied a picture or something of it, but
You have
Yeah, we've
pictures.
got them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we've got the pictures in the packet.
oh, you do?
So
Oh,
thanks.
good. Oh,
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
You're more prepared than me.
yeah. At least 20 years of growth. it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the growth is pretty significant. Amazingly, this isn't a store-bought shed, a parking lot shed, whatever the saying goes. It's a well-built and in very good shape.
Great. Yeah. I didn't have any comments. Anybody else?
Nope.
Oh, good.
No, seems pretty straightforward.
All right. Any public comment on the application? Seeing none? All right. I think we have a recommendation. Gary?
Sure.
It's right there in the notes.
It's, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So I move that we yes, close and issue a negative determination number 3 with the following conditions. 1, after the project has been completed, the applicant shall submit a letter to NRC stating that all work has been conducted in accordance with all conditions of this determination of applicability. Any changes from the RDA shall be described. And this is for the project at 63 Bruce Road, which is RDA file number 24-3.
Second.
All right. Vote, Sarah,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well. Good luck with the project.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep. Have a nice evening.
Yes.
All right. Moving on to extension requests. We have 2 of them. First one up is Mahoney, 27 Comerford Road, DEP file 137-1506. Hey, good evening. Come on up.
Hi,
Hi,
so I'm Caroline, 27 Comerford Road.
good evening.
So yeah, we received approval back like in February of 2020, I believe, initially. And needless to say, COVID kind of delayed things. It
Mhm.
also made prices go
Hmm.
very unpredictable. So
Mhm.
we received approval for 2 additions to our house. We ended up building one of them and then the deck that was off the kitchen. But we did not build the second addition, which was on the bedroom side of the house.
Mhm.
So we were just asking for an extension because we're still trying to figure out if we're gonna do that.
And is this a 1, 2, 3-year extension? What are we requesting?
I think I wrote 2 in the letter.
Okay.
I mean, we
2
did
year.
3, but I think it said
Yeah.
3 you don't usually give out, so I asked for 2.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, we have not like engaged with contractors yet or even gotten a revised price
Mhm.
estimate, so that's why I said 2 years. but
Yeah.
We're nowhere near
Right.
starting it.
Yeah,
if
the
we're
season's
gonna do
upon
it.
you
Yeah.
already, right? Yeah.
The other thing to note is we did we completed the full mitigation and planted all the native species that we were supposed to plant. So like that's all done. That's
Yeah.
been done since 2020.
That's great. Did you
Okay.
send in your reports on that?
I
You may
think
have.
so.
Okay, you may have.
Is it just a yearly?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we do.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It seems pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Understand the
Makes
issues
sense.
at hand,
Mhm.
like so many people.
But requires a motion?
Yeah, and Nick, Bill, you guys good?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. Sure. Gary,
So I move that we provide or grant a 2-year extension for 27 Comerford Road, DEP file number 1371506.
Second.
all right, and the vote, Sarah,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well. All right.
Thank
Hey,
you.
yeah, hey,
Okay.
hope you get some good pricing,
Thanks for coming in.
or better pricing, let's put it that way.
I don't need to like file anything else with.
So Karen will send you the extension and then that needs to get recorded at the registry.
Okay, sounds good.
All
Thank
right,
you.
have a nice evening.
Thanks.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, the last extension is for Westchester Company. That is Lot 28 Cooker Road, CWB file 20-1. And anybody here to discuss that with us this evening?
Hi, I'm online here. I'm on
Okay,
the
good evening.
Zoom. Oh, turn my camera on. Here I am.
Hey, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Zoe Sanchez here with Goddard Consulting, representing the applicant for this extension request. So the applicant is requesting an extension for the order of conditions for Lot 2A on Cuca Road to complete some remaining site work. Most of the site work is done, the house is built, a lot of the grading is done. They still need to, I believe the septic is done. They just need to finish the driveway and some remaining grading and lawn stabilization. But most importantly, the extension is to have some more time to complete the invasive species management and planting plan that was approved. Treatment and monitoring was done over the past 2 years. The last inspection was in February of this year, and the area looks really good. There's some small seedling growth of the invasives. So maybe hopefully this spring, the goal is to go back out there, pull out whatever's left of invasives, which isn't much, and then get those plantings in, and then be able to do the 2-year monitoring for those plantings. So that's yeah, that's what the applicant is looking for. Some more time to yeah.
Oh, excuse me, sorry.
Right.
So you're requesting a 1-year extension?
3-year, that way there's time to do the monitoring for 2 growing seasons. If we can get the plantings in this spring. Yeah.
Would the monitoring be part of the extension period typically? Or would that
Would
just-
be, but so your plantings are going in, none of the plantings have been installed, is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
So when are those proposed to go in?
This spring.
Okay.
And this term runs out when? Is it,
When does your order expire? Do you remember off the top of your head? I don't have that in front of me.
I think
This month, I think.
Yeah, that's right, next month.
Early next month.
oh, okay, so it's right around the
Okay.
corner.
yeah, it was issued 4/23/2021, I think.
And then there was, I mean, COVID added that
Mhm.
tolling period, so,
Sure,
well,
Just
I
seems
mean-
like they need like 2 years and 2 months or something. rather.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, look, what about a 2-year extension? And I mean, that will,
pretty close. if you're
Yeah.
gonna
yeah, I mean, just
We
to
can do a
submit that final
monitor.
report, I think
Yeah.
you're gonna be okay. It's not gonna require, at that point, hopefully, it's not gonna require any additional, work. Invasives removal or anything like that. That should be well in hand at that point.
Right,
Been working on that for a little while now.
okay,
Yeah, I think the applicant was just asking for the 3, just like the goal is to get the plantings in this spring. But if they have to do it in the fall, maybe it's just to have some more time for if anything else comes up, or however much pulling is left out there, which I don't think is much for the invasives, to be honest.
So the plantings are supposed to be in by now. I mean, that should have been done already. So I think, maybe just to let the applicant know that it's important to get that done this spring.
yeah,
Okay.
especially given where he's at, it sounds like he's right at the
Yeah,
finish line too,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
2 years, that will also, if we only have
Well
2
done.
years, then that will ensure that they're done
Right.
soon.
yeah. So it seems like the inclination is for a 2-year extension and see how that rolls, but also to kind of keep
Right.
things moving along.
Sure, that should be fine.
Okay,
Great.
thank you, Zoe.
Thank
All
you.
right. Any other comments from the commissioners?
Nope.
All right. All right, I think we'll need, any comments regarding this extension request for lot 2A Kuka Road? All right. Ready for you.
Okay. I move that we grant a 2-year extension for lot 2A, Cuca Road, CWB file number 20-1.
Second,
And the vote, Sarah,
aye.
Jerry,
Aye.
Nick,
All right,
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. I think with that, we're moving to close an issue.
Any discussion, or these are just ready to go?
Ready to go
These are just ready to go.
Okay.
from the last meeting.
So I move that we close an issue. Order of conditions for DEP file number 1371664 at 23 Shirley Street with findings A and B. Standard conditions 1 through 20 and special conditions 21 through 56.
Second,
And the vote, Sarah,
aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Nick,
all right,
Bill.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well.
And I further move that we close and issue order of conditions for DEP file number 1371666 at 94 Kenny Lane with findings A and B, standard conditions 1 through 20, and special conditions 21 through 54.
Second,
And the vote again, Sarah,
aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Nick,
all right.
Bill,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well. All right. That closes out that category. Other business.
So we've been working on the regulatory changes for the Wetlands Protection Act, climate resiliency, as well as, so we're calling that 1.0 as well as the 2.0, which you saw comments that look at both of those. I think there's some tweaking that we still need to do to tailor it to our, one thing that Bert and I have been talking about is we've done this a little bit in the MSMCP letter where we talked about, the difference between maintaining existing trails and how that gets permitted should be far different than constructing a new boardwalk through wetlands or something like that. They're treated equally the same right now. So I think we want to do a better job of clarifying that those should be very well distinguished. That's more of a 2.0 comment, but the 1.0 and they really want all of the comments in by April 30th. So since we haven't got those finalized yet, I'm just seeking approval to basically take the MSMCP comment letter and tailor it to us and submit that on behalf of the commission. Yeah, and if there are any thoughts or, comments that you have, they're pretty,
We're gonna relay them to you. If we
Please
can-
do.
If we can,
yeah, yes.
if we can
I
understand
feel
it.
like every time we look through it, that there's more that we're like, oh, that's gotta change. So, if there are things that, I think streamlining restoration projects and basis removal projects, and just trying to distinguish between building something like a development in wetlands versus doing restoration projects in wetlands. They should be
Mhm.
treated
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah.
And, so we're gonna try and tailor or just finesse that a little bit.
Okay, great.
Yeah, common sense is a
Common
good thing.
sense. It is a good thing.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that, last fall, no, a year ago, last fall, we met, Ed and Bert and Bill. I think Bill might have been on the call as well. Were you on that call, Bill?
No,
with,
no, I wasn't,
Okay,
no.
so maybe it's just, Ed, we met with Lincoln and talked to them about Adams Woods, which is let's see if I can just share my screen here. Adams Woods is, that's the wrong one. Well, we'll start with this one. Adams Woods is a parcel of land that occurs both in Concord and in Lincoln. Here's the town line here, this black line here. And we met with them in September of 2022 to talk, so I should say, the portion of Adams Woods that occurs in Concord, part of the agreement when that was given to the town, where's my other? When that was acquired, the agreement was that Lincoln would maintain it. So this is the Adams Woods Trail System in Lincoln, and then the green here is Adams Woods in Concord. It's a fairly substantial, it's about a 50-acre parcel, but the agreement at the time was that the town of Lincoln would maintain and be responsible for the management of that parcel. So we met with them. They have opened up some of their trails to biking. And so they are requesting, and that was shown, and I'm gonna get back to that other screen. Those trails that are open to bikes are shown in blue on this map. And they had the Strava heat maps showing that people are using this as already bike trails, and it is, you know, the trails here that are shown in blue, you know, are wide, and so, you know, there's not a lot of grade change, and so, you know, we felt okay with that. And they're now requesting to link one of the blue trails with that little yellow connector. It's right now not signed as being open to bikes, and they would like to have it be open to bikes. So the question is how the commission feels about another bike trail within that existing loop of Adams Woods in Concord.
So it's currently just a walking path, is it?
The yellow is signed no bikes currently.
So people walk on it.
And
Yeah,
what Strava
is.
would indicate that people are also biking on it already, right?
I haven't looked at the Strava maps actually on that particular one.
Talk about the grade and
It is,
it's dry, it's upland.
it is dry, it is uplands. There's where, right about the AW8, it does go up a little bit. You know, the commission may want to do a site visit to take a look. It's,
Why the question of the connector though? Why do they prefer this? Are they seeing a lot of traffic on it, or is it?
Yeah, it's just fun to have more trails to bike on. I mean, I'm a biker, so I would wanna have access to that.
Although this is, after that discussion of approximately a year ago, so it's been about a year since it's been formally opened up, at least in Concord. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
And have there any evaluations back, or have you guys analyzed the wear and tear or anything to date anyway? Just curious.
we haven't, but we could go and take a look at that and report back if that's helpful.
Can I ask, is biking allowed in Wright Woods or no?
So similar to the NRC, the land trust is currently silent on bikes.
I mean, my sense is people are biking in that whole area.
They are.
Yeah.
And that was, yeah. That's what those, I think, heat maps kind of told that story a little bit.
But people also use it, you know, there's a lot of pedestrians up there as well, some equestrian use.
Well, there's a little disconnect, I think, with us and Lincoln too, in that meeting where they had already started to open up some of their trails, and so by doing that, they obviously just come over to the Concord trails, right? That's just natural.
I remember I went on that. I couldn't make the meeting, but I went to the visit. And Lincoln had marked a lot of areas that were actually Concord.
Yeah.
Yes, there was a little bit
Did
of.
that get fixed?
That's this section.
The color coding was
Yeah.
different
Color
between
coding
the
is different.
towns, which was a little confusing.
Right.
You know, in terms of trying to.
I remember there was some issue you were gonna.
Yeah, you're right.
That's, and I actually don't know whether that has been fixed. So maybe we need to do a little bit more follow up.
I'd like to see the yellow trail and see.
Do you want to do a site
kind
visit?
of
You want us
what's
to set
there?
up?
Yeah, I would, if I can.
Yeah.
We can set one up.
Yeah.
And maybe just look at the other trails and say, look, they're in pretty good shape. That's great. But if they're,
Yeah.
again, I haven't been out there
Yeah,
in a year, so I don't know.
right,
Yeah.
right, okay.
Might be sensitive, since it's the first year technically. even though
Yeah.
they've been-
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
weather's improved.
Yeah, it
we
might be
can
nice to
get
kind
out.
of evaluate.
If people want to try and schedule something now, we can,
Let's do it.
okay.
But I know I'm gonna be difficult.
When are you?
Okay. Next week I'm away. But the week after, the week of the 22nd, oh no. Yes, the week of the 22nd.
Yeah, whatever works, right? There's
Um,
nothing pressing, so.
What time do you like to do when you do these?
Up to you guys. Anytime.
Mornings usually are pretty good. though.
I could do
Mornings are
Monday
terrible
morning.
for
Your,
me,
your
but-
mornings are now?
I mean, my calls are usually 6 a.m. to,
Ah.
I mean, so like 11 works.
Are you
but-
overseas and?
Yeah,
that-
yeah,
Okay.
So, I mean,
Sure.
usually my calls
I could do
end
11
by
on
10.
Monday.
But Monday I can do anytime, actually. It's
okay.
Earth Day.
We have,
Oh,
Pond Street, Monday, the 22nd
Yes,
at 11.
we have Pond Street at 11.
so do you wanna do earlier?
Mhm.
Or you can do it later.
Actually, I can do either. At the moment, my day's
Yeah.
pretty.
I can do
empty,
either.
Which is
Yeah,
very unusual.
my Monday is wide open, so.
Nick, Bill, your schedule?
Mine too. My Monday's wide open, the 22nd.
I think I can do it too, yeah.
Great,
Oh, what fun. Okay.
How about that?
there you go.
9 AM?
Earth Day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you wanna do a little, Gary, you wanna do a little later is that Monday a tough day for you in the morning?
No, not right now.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to do it later just in case it becomes challenging?
Sure, if you don't mind, 10 would be better than 9.
10's fine.
Okay.
Where
Where
should
would
we
like to
meet?
meet up? Yeah,
Would you say 10 o'clock? 10 o'clock?
And
10 a.m., yeah.
probably the easiest place to meet, and then we can carpool from there, is gonna be at Arena. Right at the base of Fairhaven.
Oh, yeah.
Hills.
Yeah,
So let me just show on a map where that
You
should
mean
be.
across from Arena, where Arena is?
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
when you come off, sorry, I have to move this
Yeah.
out of the way. When you come off Route 2.
Yeah,
Right
there's a small pot cemetery there, right?
Oh, I didn't know that, but
Is there?
Yeah,
so you come off Route 2.
Yep.
And it's Arena Terrace, and then there, just park right
there.
right here.
Yeah, so.
right on the corner there, Delia, right in that corner.
Yeah,
Up further, up towards Route 2, right around there. There's a small pot cemetery.
Oh, wow.
oh,
Yeah.
Bill. Oh, so it's in for tidbits.
Did you?
How do you know? How do you know that? Okay.
Did not know that. There's one on Barrett's Mill that I knew about. but-
Yeah,
Okay,
All right, so that's the
10
22nd,
a.m. on the
10
22nd.
AM. Okay.
Good.
All right. Lastly, administrative approvals.
wrote these down. We have, I know the first one, 683 Strawberry Hill. No, because I wrote down notes on. The agenda still have. The first one, 683 Strawberry Hill Road, 5 trees that the homeowner is concerned about, coming down. Will has gone out to take a look at them and agrees that they could be, determined to be hazards. And then the second one, a willow has already fallen across the brook and, fallen on Mr. Feeney's fence, and that tree would be removed by hand. Concord Green, there's one leaning birch that is leaning towards a window of one of the units. It's pretty close. And that seems, it's got some damage that Will has looked at. And then the last one is, the neighbor on Walden Terrace called us about a tree. It's right on the edge of the buffer zone, but it's actually on school departments, high school lands, and the school has agreed to have that come down. The homeowner is concerned about that tree, which Will has also looked at and thought it was adequate for removal. I should have noted on 683 Strawberry Hill, the homeowner is willing to leave 2
Oh, great.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
All right. Doesn't seem like any issues.
No,
Sounds
all
good.
good.
All good?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yep.
I think with that, we are adjourned.